is my T1100 Plus from Toshiba, and this is a newer model than the original T1000, and there also was a T1100. So this is the Plus version of the T1100, and there are some minor differences. We will get into them later on, but this is a dual floppy unit, no hard drive, and this is powered by a 9-volt source, 1.1 amps. It's stated here, and this unit has been stored maybe not in a too good environment. And this machine is something that I have not had this for a very long time. I think I got this about 1 or 2 years ago. I'm not totally sure. And this follows along the same lines as the other Toshiba computers. It has RS-232 serial, and it has floppy drive and printer port combined, and it has an RGB CGA output and a composite video also. And this is the power supply, and this is a center positive 9-volt, and they have the power switch here in the back, and as you can hear, there are a battery inside here, and it do have some power left even after all this time. And this is a nickel cadmium cell, and it have to go. And this machine was delivered by the Norwegian company AS Fjerndata back in the day. So my thought on this review was to check that this computer actually boots and that there still are some life in it. So the first order of the day is to see if I can get a power supply that fits this. For the test I will use this. This is a homemade power supply based on one of these units from China, and I do have a switch mode power supply here, and this is just a module in here, and there are some other electronics in here, and this is a repurposed TV set top box. And see what this says. And I say voltage, and I will set this to 9 volt. There it is, 9 exactly, and set. Okay, there is the ampere settings, and this should draw 1.1 amps. This was a very bad control. This should have been accelerated when I drive this too fast. Yes, 1.1 amps, and set. I do think I have output now. It might be that I have to turn the on-off knob. I will check this. DC 20 volt I think here, and this is not the best of contacts. It's actually one of the worst, as they was melting when I was soldering this. I had to turn the on-off switch, and then it's 9 volt, and it's no current drawn, and that means that I have to find my trusty plug for this. And we do have this one. Was the one I used to reverse the voltage from the IBM power supply I used before. But first I'm going to check that this connector actually fits, and it does not. That means I have to find one with a wider knob, because this has a very wide knob here, and that's a bummer, but I will see what I can find. Seems that there is no way to access the battery from the outside. You can see this machine has a slightly curve down here, so it's maybe the plastic has melted, maybe it's always been like this, I'm not sure. And you can see the plastic has yellowed somewhat uneven on this. But I will have to go and see if I find a power connector with a bigger center hole than this one. I did find one here that actually fit on this. but I'm a bit unsure if this is reaching into the other rim here, but I do think that I'm going to try, and I'm just going to connect some standard 4mm banana jacks to this, and I'm going to measure out here because I want the center hole to be the red one for my future reference. And that's this one. And this is not soldier jacks, this is screw jacks. So I just try my trusty old J-Lo driver here, and like that. The last 20 years it has almost always been that the pins have been center positive. Yes, like so. And if I then test center positive, double check center positive, and that's right. And then we are just going to plug this in. This is power, it's on this way and off this way. I put this in. I have power draw. If I should read this this meter right, I have a power draw about 330 milliamps without the power on, and that could of course means some battery charging is taking place. But on we go, and the switch. This time it's all about the Toshiba T1100 Plus. And the Plus model replaced the older T1100. And the original T1100 is described by Toshiba as being the world's first mass-market laptop computer. And they also received an IEEE milestone for this back in 2009. IEEE milestones is rewards that's giving to technology that represent key historical achievements in electrical and electronic engineering. T1100 Plus uses a 8086 CPU and not the 8088. The biggest difference between the 80C86 and the 80C88 is that the 86 model is able to fetch 16 data bits at a time. There also are some other slight differences in the memory addressing, but the glue logic around the chips takes care of that. And the model had two 720K floppies at standard, no hard drive, and it had a display with 25 lines by 80 characters, and it also was CGA compatible. And this is not a backlight LCD, it's a so-called super twist where you are able to turn the contrast from about 0 to 100. And you need direct light to read this display. And the battery lasts up to 8 hours on this machine. It weighs about 4.5 kilo without the power supply. And the machine was launched in 1986 and it had DOS 3.2 when it shipped. Service manual for most Toshiba models are available online, and for the T1100 Plus all manuals are available from different sources and some different versions. And the manuals are quite good and they give all the help you need to make repairs on these computers. These motherboards are heavily integrated and uses a lot of custom chips. So if the motherboard is bad, you might be out of luck. And this is the original sales brochure of the T1100 Plus when it was launched. They especially pronounced that this has 640K of RAM. Some models was actually delivered with 256 and there is an internal memory upgrade slot. The 7.16 MHz clock speed is faster than an 8088 on the same clock speed because it's The 8086 processor is a bit more efficient, and it also can read and write 16 bits at a time, versus the 8088 has to write out a 16-bit word 8 bits at a time. And the InfoWorld magazine pronounced that the 1100 Plus laptop was a clear winning solution. And they was rewarded very high grades. It was very good in performance, ease of use, setup and value, and excellent in serviceability. So that's quite the high score. And here is the complete test. You are able to read the whole review online, as the InfoWorld is scanned by Google. And we have to remember that this was an 8086 CPU, and this is from the same issue of InfoWorld, and this is when Compaq launched the world's first 386 PC. So the days of the 286 was coming to an end, and still the laptop computers was moving to 8086 from 8088. So this was a time when carriageable computer was a lot weaker in spec than the top-of-the-line desktop computers. And memory test. This I have to film some other way for you. This is now counting up memory. It's a bit weak because we don't have any backlight on this, but it actually states please insert system disk in drive. As we can see, the drives is not reading the floppies right, but we will try with another disk and see what happens. I do have this Tandy disk that I made for the Tandy machine to see if it's the disk or not. Yeah, but it states please system disk. I tried the other drive and it's the same. We have this switch here on, it was not here, it's here, it's the A and B switch for drives. I will try and say A. I'm not sure what this does with the internal drives, but it's the only option I have. Yes, and for those of you who might wonder on that, I did try to turn on and off the computer also, and it didn't take after I switched the drives, and I also tried the B drive and so on. So the only option we have is to actually replace or repair the drives. Yeah, we do have to take this machine and open it to access the floppy drives, and I really do not know how to open this, but there are a lot of screws here, so I will just try to unscrew some of them. With all the screws gone, there are still some plastic that keeps this together on the left side, but I try to pry this careful with the screwdriver and it pops open. First we have to do is disconnect this battery, as this unit clearly is powered on even though it's not, and this battery that stayed in here for all this time, it can't do us any good anyway. But how do we loosen these floppy drives? I can see one screw hidden behind this memory expansion, so I will start there. Yes, Yes, we have to loosen this floppy drive, and it's fastened by 4 screws, and 2 of the screws was hidden beneath the memory module. And it's normal 3mm screws, so it's no big deal, but there was a bad head on one of the screws, so maybe someone has been in here before. And I have difficulties to see in the back here if this cable is permanently mounted on the drive or not. In the service manual it's stated that it should be loose, but I can't seem to loosen it. So I give up that, and I just take off the lid of the drive. I should be able to see what's going on and maybe do some lubrication and dust cleaning without taking it further apart. But this mechanism is rather open, and this is totally clean. You can almost see nothing that shows wear and tear inside here, and I am fully able to both clean and lubricate this from inside, and I'm going to lubricate the drive screw for the tracking, and the mechanism is direct drive on the motor, so that I don't need to do anything with, and the drive spins up. It's the tracking mechanism that seems to stop. I lost the footage where I did the lubrication and cleaning. Sorry for that. Yeah, I actually tried some lubrication and cleaning of this floppy drive, but it seems like it will stop searching in a rather narrow tracking. I will just show you how this seems on camera, and if I turn on the computer, I have put in the memory module, and I put in the battery again. So now it counts up the memory and everything else works, and it just waits for me to put in a floppy disk. And when I do that and press a key, yeah, you probably can't see the key on camera, but if I do it like this, you will see that it starts seeking, but it only moves a slight bit. And even though I have lubricated this, and I also tried to turn this motor so that I can see that this moves up here without any obstruction at all, and it's moving like it should. So I don't know why this floppy drive is not working. At least I have lubricated everything that I normally lubricate on a floppy drive, and I've cleaned the head. I use this. This is a cloth with some fiberglass in it, but it's not a very coarse one, so I do it like this when I clean the heads, and I also try to push it, and you have some sliders down here for this, and this is lubricated, and this spindle here turns okay and is lubricated, and also on top here this just runs on these plastic gliders, and there is no obstruction. It's even some room beneath these, but even though it just moves a small bit, as you will see here. So it seems like this is not moving like it should, and this is the drive head motor that moves the heads up like this. And it can be the track 0 sensor, and it can be that the motor is bad, and it can be some motor steering. I'm not sure. I will try to see if I can find another floppy drive with this, or I can see if there is a possibility to fit a GoTech in here, even though this is a very special printer interface. But as this should be a short diagnosis video, we have to cut it here. So this will be it for this episode, and we will get back to this computer later. We will test the battery, we will see if we can get it to boot, and we will test the functionality of the computer. So thanks for watching. Please hit subscribe if you see anything interesting in my videos, and hope to see you again next time.